What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back.
It's the Going Way Back show with Money B. Classic hip hop, raw and uncut.
It's the Going Way Back show with Money B, your home for classic hip hop, raw and uncut. And I am joined, as always, by my sexy co-host and super producer, Ty Teasy in the building. Ty Teasy, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm really excited about today's show. I'll talk about the guests in a minute, but first, let's talk about our sponsors like we always do. And of course, I got to start it with dumerch.com and 9tshiphop.com, where you can get your officially licensed Digital Underground and classic 90s hip hop artist merchandise. Right now, we have available, like I've been saying for weeks, the new DU Legendary Collection. And that's 3 pieces that represent classic moments in time for Digital Underground. So head on over to dumerch.com and pick up the Digital Underground Legendary Collection. Also, dopeonly.com is offering the VP Edition Oakland, USA hoodie and sweatshirt. Now we call it the MVP, and MVP stands for Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, who is from Oakland, California. So to celebrate that, Dope Only has the hoodie and sweatshirt, and you can get it at dopeonly.com/big cartel. All right. And lastly, if you're in Southern California and you need some adjustments to your back, neck, or shoulder, you know what I mean? Or if you just want to feel good, you head on down to Rolling Heights, California, and you visit my friend, Dr. Nimesh Lad Hawala, and he will hook you up. Let him know Money B and Ty Teasy sent you from the Going Way Back show. You will not get a discount, but you will put a smile on his face. So head on down and check that out. Now it's time to bring in our very special guest, good friend of mine. I've known him, seems like for 30 years. So I met him when I was 2. Definitely West Coast hip hop, man. He's contributed to the culture so much. And we're going to talk about each and every one of these things, being associated with guys like the PHARCYDE, COOLIO, Warren G, MONTELL Jordan, Johnson, the list goes on. Like I said, we're going to get into all that. I don't want to give up all the game right away, but please welcome to the Going Way Back show, my guy, Paul Stewart, in the building.
What's up, Money
DJ
B?
P.
What's up, Money?
How
Thanks
are
for
you?
having me, man. Appreciate you, man. Glad to be here.
No, absolutely. Thank you for taking out the time. Why don't you tell the people where you are right now?
Oh, I'm in the capital of Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. Beautiful Zona Colonial neighborhood of Santo Domingo with like 16th century buildings, like the oldest city in the Americas. So there's a lot of like colonial buildings, and it's just a beautiful neighborhood in a beautiful city in a beautiful country on a beautiful island.
And you actually, you're there all the time. So what's the pandemic situation like as opposed to here in Southern California, in the United States, really?
Right. Well, they haven't had as many cases. They're real slow on, like, they just started giving people vaccines yesterday or something. They're a little, but they haven't had as many cases, but they've had some strict rules as far as like, they've had curfews in place, token like CADA. So, they've been dealing with it kind of that way, but it's never been anything like the kind of hospitals overrun or things like the US had. So it's been kind of a different, vibe. But,
Right
people
now,
wear masks. You have to wear a mask if you're in a store or, anything like that is the law too.
and so since you're there all the time, you definitely you communicate, you hang out with the locals. From the locals' perspective there, what is their view on the United States currently? And I'm talking about everything from how we handle the coronavirus to our recent presidential election and just what happened with Trump and everything else?
Yeah, they're pretty surprised. You know, I mean, when the George Floyd, like Black Lives Matter protests were happening in LA and people were burning cop cars and stuff like that, I showed some friends of mine out here those pictures and they were like, mine was blown because they had a different impression of the U.S. I think everyone's impression of the U.S. is a little rattled after seeing the Capitol riots, and that whole process, But overall, I mean, Dominicans love the United States. They have a lot of relatives typically that might live in the East Coast of the United States if they live here, or they probably have some kind of friends or family that live in the U.S. And it's kind of a, connected place, especially to like New York and Miami, So they think that's a little crazy, I think. Yeah, and they're a little scared of how much COVID we have too. Yeah, they're like, yeah.
Well, that's what I think more so than that, one, I would think that they would kind of see us now like, hey, they just like us, because there's usually a lot of civil unrest in third world countries and places like that. So it feels like they're looking at us like you guys are no different. And plus you guys have
we're janky. Wait, there was a meme that was going around, right? When the Capitol riot started out here. And it showed the Capitol in Washington, D.C. with all the rioters scaling the walls. And then they showed the Capitol building in the Dominican Republic. And then at the top, it had like all these blue broken Coke bottles and stuff, and like barbed wire. And it was just like, yeah, nobody's climbing up. I mean, there have been a lot of protests out here for a lot of things recently. People were upset about some election stuff that happened prior to COVID, and then the whole COVID like restrictions have caused some kind of especially with like independent retailers have been very hard with the curfews and stuff. But yeah, no, it showed some some people in places like that go, yeah, U.S. doesn't have their shit together as much as we thought. They're more like us, like you said.
Right. And then plus they're looking at you like U.S. gringo, coronavirus.
Right, but if people had stormed the Capitol like that in DR, they got shot. White, black, or brown. Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on the show is really to talk about obviously your great history, but you have a new documentary, A White Boy from Crenshaw, right?
Yes, thank you.
So kind of talk to me about that and what prompted you to, want to release this documentary.
Sure. Well, it partially came about due to COVID. I wasn't working that much as a music supervisor, which is my main form of kind of like income and the main thing that I do in the music industry and for work in general these days, though I consult and do other things too, But so it was kind of a downtime for me. And I decided, I've been wanting to do this documentary all my life because I just had a pretty crazy life. John Singleton picked me out of the crowd to work with him right after Boys in the Hood. And the first movie I ever did, I'm working with your homie Tupac and Janet Jackson, on Poetic Justice and, being around, helping discover groups like PHARCYDE and COOLIO and Warren G and the groups that I discovered and MONTELL Jordan and everything. I had a pretty interesting ride in the music industry. And my life was very different and interesting and not typical because I was white and I grew up in Crenshaw too. So I just thought that, there's enough of an interesting story here and people are getting more interested about the people behind the scenes than ever before. And people are getting more interested in the nostalgia for that era, especially like young people that weren't around and they want to kind of learn about it and hear about it, And then the people that were there, it's like a total reminisce, take you down memory lane type of thing, So there's interest from it from a business standpoint more than there ever was before, both in music docs and everything, And it was just kind of like a dream I had of something I wanted to do, and I put it together, and it's happening now.
Now, was it hard for you to dig up a bunch of this footage, or was this footage that you actually had in your personal collection to kind of tell your story?
Well, the smartest thing I ever did was I did a deal with, iconic LA hip hop filmmaker Matt McDaniels. Big shout out to Matt McDaniels. Who does very well now because he owns so much footage that no one else has. because he was literally one of the only people shooting video of hip hop events in Los Angeles. Super well known for like the Dr. Dre pool parties that he filmed and all this stuff and everything. But so I did a deal, and I over like 10 years ago, I licensed from him footage that I was in and a little bit of footage from some of the groups I worked with that I wasn't in from him. And you know, it was a great move because obviously, you know, and I paid a substantial amount of money for it to him because I knew what the value was in it, and he knew what the value was in it. But it was like the value of that now is like way more. So, you know, but me and Matt helped each other out a lot. You know, like I told him to go places and film, get content, and then he invited me to like. I mean, he was doing an interview with NWA, and I have these pictures of me interviewing NWA for a magazine interview, and that was thanks to Matt, you know, inviting me down to the Torrance Studios where NWA was recording, you know, in like '88 or something like that, crazy, you know.
And you were there. And
yeah, but it is hard to get footage because nobody has that much footage because nobody was filming because you didn't have cameras. And it's just like everyone has phones that have cameras now. And it's like cameras were so rare before the phone and the camera thing. And it was also kind of a like, you know, we're cool. We're not trying to like take a, you know, that was like a fan thing too. Like, you know, oh, let me take a picture. So many moments didn't get captured, you know. You know, when we weren't even thinking about documenting with video because it was just it was a new thing and it was expensive and most people didn't have the camera, so it was kind of out of range, you know?
Yeah, two things that I want to touch on that you just mentioned, you know, as far as back then, it was like if you were asking people to take pictures with you, it's almost like you was acting like a fan, but these were all of your
like groupie. Sorry.
Yeah, like a groupie type deal. But you know, these guys were your peers, so it wasn't like he was gonna run in the studio, NW, like, hey, pose for 30 years later when I want to do this thing. So it's kind of like you think of all the places and the things that you've done. Just the fact that you have a fraction of that is amazing. And then when you said that, you know, to give the people that are younger kind of like paint the picture of what it was like back then, right? You know, the title of your documentary, A White Boy from Crenshaw. So when people hear Crenshaw from outside of LA, they just think of Nipsey Hussle in the 60s and this, that, and other. Sure. But they don't know that, you know, even off of Crenshaw, you know, Leimert Park and other areas, Baldwin Hills, like it's affluent areas.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I want to talk about in some of these interviews too, and give a little like geography breakdown and everything.
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
Crenshaw is a street first and foremost that runs through, you know, a big part of LA. It dead ends at Wilshire, which is kind of ironic because there used to be like expressions don't go south of Wilshire and everything. So it's kind of like, and it goes really far south, but pretty much all through just Black neighborhoods until the end when it starts to even get into like white beach neighborhoods. It goes so far, you know what I mean? But it's a street foremost. And there's most famous as a street that people used to cruise on before they changed the laws and they didn't allow cruising anymore. But it's also a district. Okay, and the Crenshaw district includes the area about as far south as where Nipsey's shop is, right? Up to like Leimert Park, Baldwin Hills, the Jungles. So there's several, you know, there's projects, there's super bougie, nice neighborhood on a hill. There's all the way to like Nipsey's neighborhood that we know is like rough and tough, you know, like gang neighborhood and everything. And there's a lot of like small Black owned nice kind of neighborhoods in between those, View Park, Ladera Heights, and this is all part of the Crenshaw district. So Crenshaw, being kind of the northernmost tip of South Central Los Angeles, is part of the Black community that's closest to the white community for the most part of most of the Black neighborhoods in LA. It's not, you know, not exactly, for the most part, that's correct to say, right? So, you know, but it has, you know, like I said, notorious projects, you know, it has some very gang infested neighborhoods and everything like that, but it also has some very nice Black neighborhoods, middle-class Black neighborhoods. So I grew up around all Black people, but very mixed economically. I had friends in the Jungles, you know, I had friends that lived in Baldwin Hills or View Park, Ladera, all these neighborhoods that are like middle class. On my block, there's Black brain surgeon, Black NFL player, a Black judge. but right next to the jungles, like 2 streets down. So, you know, you go through this every day. So it's a unique area of Los Angeles, you know. And when Nipsey came out and branded Crenshaw the way he did, it was so brilliant. I love Nipsey so much, man. So sad, you know, but he really put it on the map in a whole new way. And it's funny, you know, you mentioned Leimert Park, which is a thriving area of Crenshaw right now, with, you know, Haroon Cafe, Chase Infinite, a famous manager of many huge rap artists, and is Tony Magnetic, who started Mecca Clothing. They have a cafe, and then Taz Arnold and Akil have a place called Soul Folks, an amazing clothes store. So Leimert is popping. You know, there's a whole scene going on out there that I'm really involved in, with like a lot of new artists and connecting with artists, and it's really exciting. You know what I mean? So Crenshaw has really got a lot going on right now. You know, it's a good place to be right now.
Yeah, I think one of the first, for me, one of the first things that put Crenshaw on the map is it's kind of like Boys in the Hood. You know, they had, what are you,
Sure.
Crenshaw Mafia? When they
Right.
was in the show.
Plus, when they shoot, when they shoot, the guy shoots automatic in the car. That's on Crenshaw Boulevard where they're cruising. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's all kind of shots on Crenshaw when they get pulled over and the cop is sweating the light skinned actor. You know, it was his first movie, and he ended up being a huge actor. One of the leads of Boys in the Hood.
Morris Chestnut or
the light skinned guy. He ended up being a huge actor.
Damn.
Cuba.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, you know, when the cops press in, that's a famous mortuary where like all kind of like gang funerals and stuff are held, and some famous music industry people and everything right on Crenshaw, right by the mall. So yeah, there's all kind of Crenshaw. I mean, John was like all about, his office was in Leimert Park right in Crenshaw. He lived in Baldwin Hills, you know, up until when he passed. John was really about Crenshaw, you know. Yeah.
Right, and let's stick with Crenshaw. So when you were growing up, were you ever told by, say, your parents or anybody, like, okay, make sure you don't go to that part? Obviously, you had to know growing up, you know your surroundings, but
Right.
then was there ever a time where you kind of got caught in an area where maybe you weren't supposed to be and something happened, and but because you were from in that area, you knew somebody?
I worked it out.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, there were a couple incidents, but not that many really that you would think. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
the ones that did happen were when we were really young. I mean, my parents never told us not to like go into neighborhoods or anything like that. You know, like I said, we were so close to the jungles. Like if they told us not to go to the jungles, then like we couldn't go to the YMC at the bottom of the hill right there or whatever, you know, because we had to walk through it. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're little kids, we're on bikes, we're walking, you know, this is that era, you know what I mean? Still let your kids roll around, and, you know, and so we're little kids on dirt bikes, and we got some like tires from the lot down the hill, and we're coming back up the hill through the jungles to the Jays, and some dude come out the house with a gun, and some gangbanger start talking shit, and we just all took off and ran, you know what I mean? But, you know, nothing happened, you know, I think he was just trying to scare us. One time, somebody was trying to run me off the road, so to speak, when I was on a little moped come through the jungles real late at night, like 1 a.m. from a concert. But I really, you know, I got loved, man. I got a lot of love. I mean, I got confusion. I got people also just not interested in me, you know what I mean? Like not paying attention. Right. I used to take the bus to Venice High because I didn't go to Dorsey, which was the school in the neighborhood, but I used to take the public bus through the neighborhood where the kids in that neighborhood went to go to Dorsey. And so all the gangsters are on the bus. And so, you know, but people they used to kind of look at me crazy, but I really, you know, I think I don't know, man. I wasn't putting off negative energy. I didn't look like I had anything really worthwhile to rob, and, you know.
Yeah, and I think after a while, people they probably just recognize you. Like, okay, we see him all the time, so that's it. But being from, you know, Crenshaw in that area, kind of explain to us what Nipsey means to you. Just what the way that he represented just the kind of the whole district or area for you?
Wow. I mean, that's heavy. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, before he passed, let me break it in two sections, okay?
Sure.
Yeah, before he passed, it was just like just the prodigal son, man. Just like he's still in the neighborhood. I mean, like if you went into the Marathon store, the whole story of the Marathon store is so inspirational. How his brother was selling white tees and socks across the street, and the cops kept busting them. I don't know if you ever seen the little video where they talk about it, but then eventually there was the store across the street, which was in that little shopping center where Marathon ended up being, right on Slauson and Crenshaw. And I mean, there's a video of them early, and there's like 40 Rolling 60 Crips in the parking lot. I mean, that was like gangbang central over there. You know what I mean? So they got their little shop. They got raided by the police and shut down a bunch of times and harassed, you know. But by the end, the Marathon store looked like something in Beverly Hills or Melrose, and they don't have anything like that in that neighborhood. You know what I mean? When you went in the store, it was so fly. You know what I mean? Not to even mention the like Vector 60 thing, or I'm not sure that's the exact title, but you know, the thing that he's
I know
doing.
what you're talking about.
Right, to teach kids about technology opportunities and stuff. I mean, he, you know, just, I mean, just, you know, proud of him. Uh, just like this is how it's supposed to be, because it's like, here's somebody who comes from the streets, and instead of when they get successful, like selling out and leaving the community, they stay in the community, you know what I mean? And they really help improve it in like incredible ways, you know what I mean? Um, and then when he passed, it was just so sad, you know, because it was just like, you know, what do you tell people now? Like, are they supposed to stay in the hood? Are they not supposed to stay in the hood? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, like before you could be like, look, Nipsey does, you know what I mean? Almost like, so it's kind of, it was just really tragic. It was so sad, so senseless. And now he's just kind of like a, you know, he's just become bigger than life than ever before. You know what I mean? Because of all the circumstances and the outpouring of love for him, for people, especially from our city, is just like, you know, you want to get fucked up, start talking shit about Nipsey Hussle. That's a good way to get fucked up in LA.
Yeah, he has like martyr status, and just being out here when that whole situation went down, I kind of, it's the closest thing that I've ever felt to when Pop died, right?
Right.
Like it was the
Right.
same type of vibe that I felt.
Yeah.
People are asking, you know, is the documentary out? Where can they get it?
We're in the process of making it. Stay tuned to Money B's page. Stay tuned to my Instagram page, DJ_P_Stewart, and we're going to be announcing the release and everything. Definitely check out the trailer that's on YouTube, and we'll be releasing updates and stuff. We're making it right now.
Yeah, people are saying they love the trailer. And
thank you.
one last thing I want to touch about just early, because you kind of, so you weren't out acting the role of, you know, the hip hop guy. You kind of were more involved in like the surfer skater culture, right? Which I believe they're parallel, because, you know, it's kind of like they're both rebel cultures, right? So
Right.
is that what
Right.
attracted you to hip hop? Because it was
Right. Well, when I was like a teenager, like really young, like 13 and stuff like that, you know, hip hop was definitely not popping on the West Coast. It was barely even created in New York. You know what I mean? So, you know, I was a skater. I was listening to both music I heard from the neighborhood and rock music my brother was turning me on. So my brother was a skater. And it was an era of skateboarding was a huge trend. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
so I got into that. I was kind of some white boy shit, even though I lived in the hood. You know what I mean? And so I
Right.
did that. And then as I got into high school, you know, I kept skating. I went to Venice High, so I hung out with some legendary people like Block, the photographer from Venice, and everything was in my photo class. And you know, so I hung out with some of those dudes. And you know, I wasn't no super great skater or anything. I'm not trying to say that, but you know, I started to really get into music in high school more. Hanging out with cats in my neighborhood, you know, that were really putting me up on just game in general, you know what I mean? And kind of like urban culture, you know, because I was a young man and I kind of was getting out of that skate thing, you know what I mean? And it was like the preppy era. The brothers in the hood were wearing Lacoste, you know, Le Tigre and Lacoste. And so like, that was kind of like a style that was very popular out here. And so I kind of got into that, you know, and started listening to all the like Rick James and Cameo shit. And then when I went away to college, I started DJing. That's when I really discovered hip hop. And then I started, after a little bit, I went full bore. You know, I just got, you know, after groups like Run DMC, because this is before Run DMC really came out, I'm talking about. So then when Run DMC came out and the Beastie Boys came out, I was just like all in, especially because I had the skater background. The Beastie Boys style appealed to me more than some of the, like, I wasn't gonna dress like Run DMC and like bombers and like, you know, as much as I love their music, you know, that just wasn't, you know.
And you broke through, and tell me if this is correct, but you broke through with Delicious Vinyl, right? Doing street promotions?
Well, that was my
for
first
like
job.
Tolo? Huh?
That was my first job in the industry. You know, I was an intern before that at Arista, and Orlando and Mike Ross gave me my first job at Delicious Vinyl. And I was doing, retail marketing, and I was working Tone Loc and Young MC. I went with Young MC to a new music seminar. That was the first time I ever went to New York. And that was a legendary new music seminar. You know, it was like just incredible stuff was going on, you know, all kind of great hip hop out of New York, you know.
And from there, so you got good at it. Now, at what point did you break off and figure, because they hired you, right?
Right.
So what were, you know, after Delicious Vinyl, what was the jump? Like, did you go from there to PHARCYDE, or like what was the progression? Like
my homeboy Matt Robinson, who's a famous LA club promoter, had gotten a deal with Island Records, and he hired me to be his VP. And it's kind of interesting because so I had that job, but it didn't last very long because Island was having problems and Matt's label deal went away. So then I'd have a job, and then nobody wanted to hire me. I thought I was like kind of, you know, a little established. So that's when I started my street promotion company. And Curtis Harmon, the DJ from K-Day, brought my first account to me, and we did it together. And then that really took off for me. I started working for Tommy Boy on retainer, some of the Electra stuff via Steve Rifkin, CYPRESS.
So name the groups.
Was that?
Name the groups. Yeah, you said Tommy Boy, so that was Naughty by Nature.
Boy, like I worked, it was classic shit. It was Naughty by Nature's first album. We were putting the OPP stickers, you know, everywhere. I worked Queen Latifah's first album. I worked De La Soul's first album. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? We're getting like the vinyl of De La Soul records before other people and giving them out to DJs. I mean, you know, that's giving me some clout, you know, Brand Nubian, Pete Rock, that Dante Ross signed Electra stuff, that came via Steve Rifkin. Cypress Hill, we did a lot of stuff with Cypress Hill. Ed O.G., so many groups, man, you know.
And now,
yeah, those are a lot of them.
Now I was gonna say, when I met you, I knew you as DJ P. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Paris from the Bay Area.
Right. And then, you know, what's amazing is that you spitting off all these Tommy Boy acts. What happened to Digital Underground? Because we were on Tommy Boy too.
But we didn't work you, I don't think.
Yeah, I wonder why. Because we were signed the same time as De La and Latifah, and Naughty came right after us.
Maybe we hadn't been hired when your records came out. If Naughty came after you.
Yeah, because we came after.
We worked everything on Tommy Boy. Yeah. But yeah, I remember your independent records. I bought all those, man. I was DJing. I was, like I said, I was DJ P at that time. The Digital Underground 12 inches were big records for me as a DJ, for sure.
Right. Well, yeah, I was gonna say. So I only knew you as DJ P when I would come to LA in the early '90s. It had to give you an advantage, and because you were a DJ in the LA scene and were kind of so entrenched in it, did that kind of like lead you to say like, hey, I know what's happening, I should bring my own groups into this thing, and then from that, is that when you went out and found the PHARCYDE, or what?
Well, DJing brought kind of everything to me, for sure. You know what I mean? It put me in touch with everybody before I was doing anything, you know? But at the same time, it was like I was DJing at night, then in the daytime, I was working at labels, and, you know, so I was getting like this great education, you know? I mean, I remember when I worked at Arista, I was the intern. I was lowest person at the thing, and I was doing that. I was involved in that club, Water the Bush, seminal LA hip hop club, Water the Bush.
Right.
And Violet Brown, famous Violet Brown, who was huge, a buyer of all the black music for the Warehouse chain, which is kind of hard for maybe young people to understand. I mean, she was a very important person because she depends how many records you're going to be bought by Warehouse, and the Warehouse had like hundreds of stores or whatever. So it could be huge order. And and I worked in retail, right? And so and one time she called for me because she wanted to get on the guest list, and my boss and my boss's boss were all freaked out. Why is Violet Brown calling you? They thought I had tried to I was like, she wants to get on the guest list of this club. So it was like I was networking at night, connecting, with all the hip hop people, meeting people like Ice-T and Africa Islam, working on that club, you know what I mean? And just meeting the hip hop community was small, you know what I mean? And then during the day I was learning the business,
Right. So how did you find the PHARCYDE?
I was at the Gavin convention, and I was doing street promotion at that time, and Razkaz, the rapper, brought him up into the hotel room. It was like 1 a.m. We were doing a lot of smoking blunts, we were drinking, and it was 3 of them. I think Trey wasn't there, and J Swift wasn't there, and they came in, and when they walked in the room, the guy Lano Brazil, whose room it was like, this guy gets people record deals, because I had gotten House of Pain a record deal. I managed them briefly, very briefly. I got them their deal, and then I stopped managing them. But anyway, so he said, this guy gets people record deals, and they got in a little huddle. They came out, and they did their song, Your Mama, and they were jumping on the couch, and it was fucking hysterical. And we're faded up, at 1 a.m, like, and so it was amazing. I remember, and the next day I asked Malik Levy, my partner, I was like, yo, were they that good? Or he was like, nah, they were that good, So I connected back with them in LA, and I had the relationship with Delicious Vinyl, being my first employer. But we got a lot of labels were interested. Def Jam passed. Jive wanted to sign him though. A few labels were interested, but we ended up feeling that family vibe with Delicious Vinyl. The group really, the group was comfortable there. I would have probably tried to get a bigger check. I told Mike Ross that there, he got mad at me, but I was just being honest, and shit. But it was definitely the right thing to do, because the PHARCYDE was crazy, and they wouldn't have been able to have they had so much creative freedom at Delicious that they would have never gotten the bigger labels.
Right. And so did you see them blowing up as big as that they actually got when you first, like, I know you were high, you were like, these guys are dope. Yeah, I mean, but a lot of times we think of dope as underground.
Sure. And they were very underground. They used to rap at that Good Life Cafe with the Freestyle Fellowship and everything. And they were rappers, backpack rappers, more or less, Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they had found this niche. It was so fresh. Their demo had 3 songs. It was Passing Me By, Your Mama, and Officer, 3 big songs off the first album. Done basically the same way they're on the album. So the demo was like a pretty good representation of what the album was going to be, you know what I mean? And it was so different than anything. It was so fresh and different than anything else. Yeah, and it was so ironic is, back to Malik Levy, who was working at Capitol at the time, he was trying to sign Casual of Souls, and gave me the demo, and we connected with Domino and Souls and PHARCYDE and Souls, and we all connected, and we just became so close because, like, we felt like the same way about their demo, kind of like we felt about ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had this song that I think got released way later called Taxi, and it was like the theme song from the TV show Taxi, and and they had real trouble clearing the sample, but it would have been like a huge hit for them, I think, but it came out at that time, like right then, and that was on their demo, but they were just so talented and on kind of a similar, new school vibe like the PHARCYDE, But the PHARCYDE had that whole, like, the girls are passing me by, kind of making fun of themselves comedy thing, and it just seemed really refreshing. So yeah, I thought they could be really huge. Yeah, for sure.
And lastly, with them, were you talking to them around the time when they, started to break up and all this stuff with Fat Lip? Did you have any input on, like, what are you guys doing?
No, I worked with the PHARCYDE through the first album. I met them, when they had this one song, basically, I believe, recorded They had just become the PHARCYDE, more or less, you know.
Uh-huh.
And they had worked with a great person before that, Reggie Wright from Locke High School in Watts, who discovered Tyrese and everything, but he didn't understand what the PHARCYDE's new sound was. And so he wasn't the right person. So they found me and I totally got it, you know what I mean? And so we clicked. But so I worked with them through there. I got them the deal through the first album. And then when they started to record Lab Cab in California, that's when I stopped working with the group. I mean, there were issues from day one with the group, like more or less. I mean, Fat Lip's crazy, and they're all a little crazy, but you know, Fat Lip was particularly like a little like self-sabotaging and a little like, you know, did some stuff that was a little like, you know.
And that's what I was really getting at. Like, did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, that started early on, but you know,
okay,
but I was still there for a lot more of the glory times and somewhat sheltered from some of that because I didn't really tour with the group. So, you know, yeah. I didn't really
now
see
you did
ugly shit like when they left the city and, you know, imagine how crazy it gets, you know, that's, yeah.
And they were young, but you did do, was it marketing work for Ice Cube or did you have a market? Like what did you do?
I did do marketing for Street Knowledge for Ice Cube.
For Street Knowledge.
Yes, and that's when I was managing the PHARCYDE. And when I met Cube, Dave Funkenklein, R.I.P., that cat, I know he was a friend of yours. What a great guy. He's the one who introduced me to Cube, gave me a referral. Cube was looking for someone to do marketing promotions. And I worked at Street Knowledge. They had an office in Nipsey's Hood over there in the 60s. And I used to work at Street Knowledge and I did marketing promotion for Cam, Yo-Yo, Lynch Mob. I don't think I worked Dell, but Dell was coming out that same time I met Dell. And so it was an amazing time. They were just starting to work on Fridays, you know. And so when I met Q and he was telling me about the job, I was like, yeah, I'd love to. I said, you know, I'm managing this group, the PHARCYDE. And he said, oh, that's cool. I like them. And so, you know, it wasn't like some huge paycheck. So I think he was kind of like, yeah, you know, you can do your little side hustle, you know. So I was still managing the PHARCYDE, and that's where I met COOLIO at Street Knowledge. So then I started managing COOLIO.
Well, I guess the question I wanted to ask about Cube, were you working with him around the time when he did the Wicked album and he really started to go into like the whole little Muslim phase?
Exactly that time. Exactly.
So how did that affect anything? Like, did he make any, like, would he make remarks or would you listen to some of the things and like, wait a minute, bro, like, come on.
No, I mean, I remember one time Q was clowning me talking about, you know, I was in New York to help get the taxis. You know, you remember how hard it was for Black guys to get taxis back in the day and shit? They're like, yeah,
yes.
Get us the taxi, Paul. No, I mean, but, nah, I mean,
tell the truth.
Right what's that?
Tell the truth.
The truth. No, I mean, look, I think Q was a militant guy, but I think some of the rhetoric was a little like, you know, taken out of context and misunderstood by people. It's not like he hated white people or hated Jewish people and just, you know, it's like you can't be a Black person and say something about Jewish people without being called anti-Semitic, for example. So I don't really think, I think that most of his comments were taken out of context and he was never somebody that like, look, he hired me at the height of that phase that you're talking about. Right. I was working Cam's album and, you know, so I think he wanted to show he wasn't like that. We also had a Korean woman that was on the staff.
Right. Well, yeah, never thinking that he was like overtly like that, but I'm just, you know, being around that whole thing and all of the attention for the comments. It's really, this is like.
I mean, look, we had JD from the Lynch Mob. We had DJ Pooh. Motherfuckers were clowning, like snapping on motherfuckers. I was the white boy in the basement. You know, they might clown what I was wearing or talking, you know, but it was a lot of love. You know what I mean? Like people were like, it was like, you know, but not, I mean, with me and Cube, he was more like, that dude's business. I worked for him. You know,
right.
He didn't know more about his business. You know what I mean? So, and you want to hear a crazy funny story about when I worked for Cube? The only group that I brought him when I was there that he really wanted to sign and he didn't get to sign was Alchemist and Scott Kahn, that later became the group that Cypress Hill put out.
Psycho
The
Realm?
Hooligans. Later
No, the
became the
Hooligans.
Hooligans.
Right.
But they had a different name at that time, and they were produced by QD3. And I brought the demo to Cube, and he really liked it and wanted to sign him. He was going to do like a gangster. They were really young at that time. They were like crisscross young, and they were in high school. Or they were in school, junior high school, I think. And he wanted to do it like a gangster's fairy tale part 2, and he was going to put them on there. And but Cypress Hill ended up getting them. Didn't put them out for a long time, but
It didn't work out.
Yeah.
So of course, you know, I'm going to talk about our guy COOLIO. Now,
Yeah.
for the younger audience, a lot of them they know COOLIO as this, you know, huge pop success with Gangsta's
Right.
Paradise, but back then, you know, he was kind of like a menacing type of character. You know what I mean? From the Mad Circle,
From
and
Compton.
he was known to be wilding out like at parties and stuff.
Right.
So,
Right.
what was that like? How did you know?
Coolio's a wild boy. Is, you know.
Right.
I mean, I met Coolio when I was working at Street Knowledge in the 60s in the basement of Street Knowledge. And he basically came up there and saw my white ass working hard. And he was like, "You're my manager." And I was like, "Okay." And he gave me a demo, and Wino had his producer, Wino, who I love, man, great guy, you know, taught me a lot. Wino had produced, it was a bar case sample he had flipped. It was County Line there, a song on there. And I just loved it, you know, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." You know, and he was talking about standing, it's funny because it was kind of like the PHARCYDE thing. He was talking about standing in the county line to get free cheese and getting recognized for being in a Mad Circle video and getting clowned and all this stuff. Like, why are you at the county? You know what I mean? Getting a check
Yeah.
or cheese or whatever, you know? And so he's making fun of himself, you know? I'm not balling, you know what I mean? And I thought it was cool. And yeah, and I remember the first time he told me to come pick him up. And so obviously, you know, I'm from Crenshaw, I'm working in 60s this time. He told me to come pick him up and gave me the address. And he was staying at some girl's house or baby mama's house in Nickerson Gardens in Watts. And I had never been to that neighborhood before. Like, and I was like kind of shook, you know what I mean? And he came out and I was like, "Damn, cool, you trying to get me stuck up or something?" He was like, "Nah, everybody knew you were a cop. White dude out here, you know, like that." They're like, "They knew you were an undercover cop. Nobody fucking with you." I just laughed, man, you know. But yeah, he was a wild guy, you know. But he was a great client because he's a little older by the time I met him. He'd been through some shit and he listened. I mean, I managed Coolio for 5 years, you know, from his first demo to a month after he won the Grammy for Gangsta's Paradise.
And Coolio is very intelligent, right? You know, 'cause obviously we toured him a lot or have toured with him a lot. But
Sure.
just tell me if you can remember or if you know, what's the craziest situation that you've been in with Coolio? And Tantisi said he cheated on Chopped, the cooking show.
I don't, I'm sorry, man. I can't think of any just local one-off Coolio story that I feel like is for public domain. You know what I mean? But, you know, careful. Me and Coolio are working on a new merch deal, FYI. So we got that coming soon, you know. I love Coolio, man. I don't want to put anything embarrassing out there. But, you know, I mean, and like I said, I mean, to be honest, like, I didn't, you know, cats were kind of on their best behavior around me at that era, right? Because I was the manager, I was the man, I was getting the deals or whatever. And Coolio was a smart dude, you know what I mean? So he kind of saved his wilding for, you know, the other times, more or less, you know. I gotta think about that. I'm gonna ask some of the PMP employees. I'm sure they'll have some better stories than me.
Yeah, just, you can stew on it, and if we think about it, and I want to talk, you know, I want to get into the whole music supervision thing, but
Sure.
Right now I kind of want to pivot, and we want to get into the who said it.
Let's go.
If you want to play the game now, you know how to play the game. You've seen the show. We kind of talked about it. Everybody in the chat, they know what we do. Tantisi is going to spit. I say spit. Classic hip hop lines.
Right.
And you have to guess who said it.
Right.
And what song it is. Right.
Is there
now,
a
the
time
caveat,
limit on
of
it?
course, is Tantisi doesn't know who said it either. I just gave her the lyrics on paper. So she doesn't know the cadence.
Is
Say
there like
what?
a clock?
No, there's no time limit.
Okay. So I
There's
just
no
wait till
clock.
she finishes and I give my answer if I have one.
Yeah, you get to say it. You can have her say it again. You can tell her to say it a different way, whatever. But what I will say is to kind of to narrow it down for you to keep it in. We're
Yeah.
gonna keep this "Who Said It" to artists that you've worked with either directly or indirectly through management, promotion, supervision. So
Okay.
all of these artists you've touched in a way, and not particularly. It might not be particularly the song, but the artist. All right, so that'll narrow it down.
All right.
All
So
right,
she's
let's
going to
see
give
what
you the first one is just an example, so you can see how she comes off with it.
Also, don't do it.
Here we go.
No, do it, but just this is just an easy example for you.
There lived a DJ, and Paul was his name. He came up to Monty. This is what he said. Who said it?
Montel Jordan, this is how we do it. My big shout out.
Yeah, he gave you a shout
I
out.
got that one right. I miss every single one. At least I could get that right. Yeah. Yeah, that was a nice shout out, man. And who knew the song would be so big? I definitely didn't know that song would be that big. Like, other songs I was involved in, I knew were going to be big, but that one I was a little surprised how big it was.
Were you in the studio when he recorded that, or did you just hear it and you was like, oh shit, he gave me
No,
a
he
shout
just
out?
brought it to me. He was working with OG Pierce, real cool brother, RIP, and they made the song and he just brought it to me. And then I did have Wino, watch about earlier, beef up the bass a little bit in the final mix that came out, the drums and the bass, because it was a little like, OG great guy, but he's like R&B producer, so it was a little tinny,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I liked the song, and Def Jam got really hyped on it. So I always also like to kind of like, see what other people think, not just be like base everything on my own opinion. I think
That
that's
shit still bang.
yeah, still going.
Still go. All right, next.
All right, here we go. Bandit, underhanded. Yes, I'm scandalous. Snake in the grass, niggas. I'm taking chances. Who said it?
I don't know.
I'll say it again. Bandit, underhanded. Yes, I'm scandalous. Snake in the grass, niggas. I'm taking chances. Who said it?
I mean, if I guess, I'm not gonna know the song, so I would just be throwing a name out there. I mean, should I? I really don't know.
Say it with some swag, Teasy. Maybe you'll get it.
Bandit, underhanded. Yes, I'm scandalous. Snake in the grass, niggas. I'm taking chances. Who said it?
COOLIO?
Let me see if I can spit it. Get it.
Oh,
Bandit, underhanded. I'm taking chances. What?
You didn't even say it right.
I know I didn't say it because
Hey,
I don't have it in front of me.
you know what, Money? I told you before we got on there that I was a DJ and I was very beat driven in my listing, but lyrics sometimes failed me, and I'm probably, and there's too much of this.
Well, that's why it's fun. So that was
yeah.
and nobody in the chat got it. So that's Coolio from Sticky Fingers.
So I did get the artist at the
You
end
were
of the
close.
day. Huh? Okay.
You were close, so you get a half a
But it
point.
sounded like
Ding,
some
ding, ding.
Coolio shit, but I ain't studied his music like that. And you know what's funny? I want to go back to it because I think his music is underappreciated because he's viewed as such a rap star.
Oh, he was spitting on that one, and even
Yeah.
on some of his other joints. Like I said, people know him. Casual fans only know him from the big records, right? But they don't know that he was really kicking some shit. Okay, next, Teasy.
All right.
Yeah.
Nothing like yella yella that'll have you itching, man. Talking like, what's up, fool? Vocal cords sounding lame. Who said it?
Yella. Like NWA. This gonna be
No.
rough, bro. Yella Bees.
Play the game.
NWA.
Oh,
I don't know.
Cullen's in the building. He might guess this. Who
I'll
said? Say it again.
Say it again.
Cullen.
Nothing like that yella yella that'll have you itching, man. Talking like, what's up, fool? Vocal cords sounding lame. Who said it?
It's definitely West Coast. I don't know.
Got it?
Somebody
Go
got it?
ahead.
You got it? She always talking about she got it, but she said after the fact.
See, you got it? I don't
Oh,
know.
I don't have it.
It's yellow. You know saying it's yellow, yellow. Got me itching, man. It's Juicy J from 3 6 Mafia on sipping on some scissor. Sipping on. And of course, Hustle and Flow.
Yeah, I love 3 6 Mafia. Great people. Yeah, I don't know their catalog too deep. My bad. Yeah.
It
You
sounds
said
like you ain't
some
gonna know
evil
nothing.
shit. If it had been a little more evil, I would have like guessed them, but I still wouldn't know the song.
They should have all gave you a shout out. You would
Right.
have guessed them all.
Yeah, you should have ran on stage when they won the Grammy or the
I
Oscar
know.
or whatever the hell they won.
I was at the performance. I was excited. That was amazing.
Y'all
Did
ready
you
for
get
the
one?
next one?
Did you get a statue?
No. They invited me to
Oh.
the Oscars. It was nice. So I was there when they won.
They invited you to see it and look at it.
Right. People think I got one, so I just, if people don't ask me directly, like you said, then I just, let people assume.
Okay.
More or
Next.
less. I'm not trying to like promote it. People always say, oh, he got an Oscar, I mean, like, the song got an Oscar. I was the music supervisor. It's close.
But you were a part of it, so
Big part of it, yeah.
it's kind of like both of y'all's.
What was that?
Said it's kind of like both of y'all's.
In case Juicy J or DJ Paul, the real DJ Paul, wherever they hear this, I would never want to take that. The Oscars go to the songwriters, but they're talking about getting a category for music supervisors, and just to be a part of it, you know what I mean? Just to have John Singleton's confidence that I could help with that and that I was able to be involved in that was amazing.
All
So
right.
I feel bad I didn't know their lyrics,
It's all good. We just having fun.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I hit so many guts, call me gutter. I'm the bread and butter. Punk motherfuckers, I'll cut up, work 'em from the gut up. Who said it?
Is it the southern region of the country? Again?
Say it one more time. Teasy.
Was that?
Give him
Can
a
I get
clue.
hints?
Yeah, give him a clue.
It's not the southern region.
Here we
But
go.
it's
I'm gonna be the
somebody
worst
that you
player
work
that
with.
ever. I'm gonna be the worst player that ever did this. Go ahead, run it
Really
back.
not.
Keep poking, maybe that'll help.
Here we go. I hit so many guts, call me gutter. I'm the bread and butter. Punk motherfuckers, I'll cut up, work 'em from the gut up. Who said it?
WC. I have no idea.
It's hit so many guts they call me gutter. I be the bread and brother punk motherfucker. It's Vin Rock from Naughty by Nature. Uptown Anthem.
Vin Rock, nicest fucking guy ever, man.
And Cullen didn't say it. He's supposed to know all of that. But yeah, it's all good. But I appreciate you for playing though.
Hey man, I'm gonna start studying my lyrics if I ever get around to.
And thank you, Ty Teasy. You were spitting hard.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
there was no
Good job,
problem.
Paul.
With the delivery. The delivery was not the issue.
Yeah. I know I said I want to go into the music supervision thing, but before we do that real quick, you did bring Warren G and sign him to Def Jam West, when they started Def Jam West. Now, it would seem to people like it was a no-brainer, because the Dre thing and the Snoop and everything was popping. But what were some of the challenges with getting Warren G that deal?
Well, it's interesting because, and a lot of this I found out even more recently when I saw that Warren G doc. I didn't quite understand, Warren had played such an integral part in the making of the Chronic and everything, and then he got left out. You know what I mean? And I met him after that, but he was still hanging out at the Death Row Studios. And I found out recently that the reason he wasn't signed to Death Row, and I didn't really know this either, was that maybe you told me once, but I think I forgot, was that Suge gave him a contract, but he, with everyone else, but he wanted to have it looked at. That wasn't like, I guess, par for the course or whatever. So, you know, that's why he didn't get signed and didn't get taken on that tour and everything, like, you know, that they discussed in this doc and everything. So, but, you know, Warren, to be honest, was really more focused on being a producer. He was like, you know, if you look at how he contributed to the crowd and everything, it was like he brought all these artists and he brought a lot of the grooves and ideas. But you know, I mean, his contribution, I mean, like without him, there's no Snoop, there's no Daz, there's no Corrupt, I mean, like there's no Nate. I mean, like, you know, 'cause he brought, you know, but, and then he brought some of the samples and stuff that Dre flipped and, you know, so when we met him, we were more looking at him as a producer and he produced, so we had him, we started working with him and he produced 2 songs on Poetic Justice. We were managing him really more as a producer. And so he produced the Tupac song that's on the Poetic Justice soundtrack.
Definition of a thug nigga.
Right? And he produced Mr. Grimm, Indo Smoke, and he raps on Indo Smoke. And man, I'm so sad I had to shout out all these RIPs, but RIP Chris Lighty is the one that like called me. I sent him a video of Indo Smoke, and he was like, "Who's the guy in the 3rd verse?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Warren G, Dr. J's brother, Snoop's DJ." And then next thing you know, Russell was calling me, and Def Jam had the foresight to sign him as an artist from seeing him rap on that verse and just understanding who he was within the, I don't know how much they knew who he was within the death row industry, but they knew he touched it. And they had missed the whole death row movement and were having a low point in sales and stuff. Def Jam was getting eclipsed by death row. So they were kind of desperate to touch some of that, you know? So.
Now, when you guys decided to sign Warren G, did you get any pushback from Suge or Death Row? Because I know even though he wasn't signed to them, they kind of were like on some bully shit in the industry to where if they felt like if they get a piece of something, they could just take it from people.
I didn't have any of those problems with them, so I can't speak to that really. But what I can say, the pushback I did get was from my management partner, John Singleton. And it's just kind of ironic part of our story, but like he didn't want to sign Warren to Def Jam. He wanted to sign him to his label. And we had never really discussed it, but after Def Jam made the offer, then it was kind of like we were all sitting there going like, why didn't we think of that? Kind of, you know what I mean? And like,
right.
To be honest, I know I was, and you know, I'm sure he wasn't. So, but our deals that we had through our label were very small, built-in deals. And Def Jam had made a huge offer for Warren. So we signed Mr. Grimm.
Okay.
That Warren was producing. But so me and John had a fallout over the Warren thing. And then I didn't work with him for a few years until he decided he wasn't mad at me more, and he hired me to work on Fast and Furious 2 and Hustle and Flow and For Brother and everything moving forward, basically, from that point.
Right, but you did work with him. Poetic Justice was the first film that you worked with him on, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know, I kind of want to go through.
And I got to hang out with your boy Pop. It was pretty amazing.
Right, that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
First part of this is explain to the people exactly what music supervision entails on a film or a television show.
Sure. It's the music supervisor's job to help the director, you know, find music, and then also you have to deal with the legal administrative part of licensing it. Half of it's really creative. John really used me in the creative aspect, you know. When I found Warren at the Death Row studio because we were working on the Dog Pound song that's on the soundtrack with Dog Pound and Snoop. That's on the soundtrack.
Rage.
What was that?
Yeah, with Rage.
The one with there's a bunch of N-words in it. Or a bunch of words.
Is we don't give a fuck, nigga, some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that song, I was working on that song at the studio and, you know, trying to get it delivered. And Warren, that's when Warren came up to me and said, hey, I got my stuff. And so he played me Indo Smoke and I played it for John and we flipped and we started managing Warren. And then we decided, because, you know, we're managing Warren, so we used Warren's Tupac song, because obviously we're going to put a Tupac song on Poetic Justice, you know what I mean? So right. I was just helping him find the songs. And then, you know, on that movie, because it was through Sony Studios and I was John Scott, I didn't have to get involved in all the paperwork and clearing all the songs. But most of the time, like when I did Hustle and Flow, and I had to, you know, in any smaller film, usually, you know, and most of the projects you do as a music supervisor, you help find the music, and then you do the licensing deals to actually get the rights to use the music and work out the budgets and, you know, keep the producer.
So you got to research and do the paperwork.
It's a very like, this song might cost that much. It's very hard to like, you know, budget out a creative thing like that. So it takes, you know, sometimes, you know, it takes finessing or, you know, this kind of thing.
And I only said that because I know a lot of people, when they think of music supervision, they just imagine you just sitting in the office listening to More Bounce Than an Ounce and be like, hey, let me put this in Snowfall. And then that's it. Like,
that's a
drop
tiny
that.
part. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
Sometimes I get hired as a consultant, and then that's all I do. But on projects, you know, with Snowfall, for example, I am a consultant, but I do more than that. You know, and it's more involved, and I'm involved in clearing the songs and the prices and everything and things like that.
Before we get to Snowfall,
yeah.
Before we leave Poetic Justice, we all know that Tupac was a colorful character, right?
Sure.
So why don't you tell us one of your most colorful experiences?
Okay, I got a good Tupac story.
So, okay, yeah, we gotta have a good Tupac story.
Yeah. So when John wrapped filming on Poetic Justice, he had just already hired me, right? And as celebration, he took me and Tupac as his guests to Freaknik in Atlanta. Whoa. Can you explain what Freaknik is for those who don't know? A wild celebration.
Is Atlanta going wild? That's what it is.
Right. So I hung out for a whole like weekend, 3 days or whatever in Atlanta during Freaknik with Pac and John. And the craziest thing that happened was we were at Club 112 one night and we were leaving and we were in the parking lot and we had a limo and Left Eye rolled up and like jumped in the limo and had some words with Pac. And it was a little, you know, she was hot under the collar. Let's just say that she was upset. And we kind of dashed out. When we showed up at the Marriott where we were staying, she was up there with a couple of homegirls and it's like she was ready to squab. Like she was heated and, you know, people were holding her back, but she was really hot. I don't quite know the whole situation. I know, you know, that there's a lot of stories. I've started to hear another podcast about Pac and Left Eye and everything, you know, and other kind of crazy situations. I mean, I know they dated or whatever, you know what I mean? And so that, I guess that's no secret. I'm not the first person to say that or whatever, but I don't know anyone else that witnessed that event that's alive. I mean, you know, obviously, man, Pac, Left Eye, and John Singleton, R.I.P. Wow. There were a lot of people around though. There were probably other people that did see it, you know what I mean? But so she just wilded out and kind of had to, basically like if she wasn't Left Eye in Atlanta, she would have got arrested because she was trying to like jump through the security and like woof, you know. So,
was she trying to fight Pac or was he with some other girls that she was trying to get at?
It was like she was trying to get at him physically and I guess to fight, yes, you would say. Something of this nature. Yeah, she was pissed. Yeah.
That's crazy. So
that's a good story, right? Yeah.
No, it is. I
made it up for my lack of COOLIO, good COOLIO story.
You gonna double back with the COOLIO story too?
Just him having me come to Nickerson Gardens. That's my best COOLIO story.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy enough. And especially Nickerson being a blood project
and COOLIO being from Compton, from like a
yes, and, you know, definitely not a blood. But
right.
So Snowfall.
Yeah.
How many seasons are there going to be? And you know,
man, can I tell you coming back? For any fans of it, I'm watching 4 right now, and it's getting so heavy. And I just found out that it's supposed to go 6 seasons, probably. Everything goes well to go 6 seasons. But I mean, the way I'm watching it right now, I'm almost like, I think it's about to end right now. shit's getting wild. But it's, I mean, it's deep. It's good. It's really good. I mean, it's, you know, it's so sad to do without John, but I think his legacy is being upheld, and the quality of everything is up to the standard of, you know, that it was.
What he wanted.
He worked on it for 3 seasons, so people kind of understand, and you know, I'm there to try to help understand, you know, his musical aesthetic or whatever. And the people that were the other music supervisors on the project worked with him for the whole thing, and they've been doing a great job. And so,
Now, along with you and some of the other, like the people that were working with John while he was still here, do you feel like an obligation to make sure that you hold it up to the standard that you know that he wanted it at?
definitely, it's like a serious responsibility. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
When is it coming back again? When is it? I seen some commercials.
You know, I see billboards on Crenshaw and everything, so I'm sorry I don't have the release date, but like we're almost like, I got, you know, I think there's 10 shows, and I got like a rough of number 9 today. So, you know, like we're banging through them on the post side, but I, you know, I don't know the release date, you know, but it's heavy.
And how does that
I
work?
can't say anything about it, of course, so, you know. Just
No, yeah, you can't. But just in the process of working on Snowfall, is it like through the season? Are you guys like seriously saying this is 1983, this is 1984, and how do you go about making sure that the music is definitely of the time? Like, are you restricted per episode into a series, like a real time frame of when it happened?
We only release things that are like researchable, more or less. You know what I mean? That, you know, we can see when they came out. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if you Google something and it says 86, then we're talking to them, hey, what's going on? Oh, something, the single came out in 85, maybe. But we're even strict too. We even try to stay to a month, if possible. You know, for the most part, we even try to stay to what month it's released. You know, like if it's January 85, but it came out in June, then we wouldn't put it out yet.
That was what I was getting at. Like, are you guys like, does the story really go through the actual time periods of months and years?
Yeah,
because I know like
the first episode was 82, and now we're at 85.
Okay, because I know like some shows. I remember Everybody Loves Chris. He's all it's 1980 something, and then I'll be like, that song wasn't out at that time.
We're so strict about that. You'll never hear anything on Snowfall that wasn't out before the date.
Before the
I don't know exactly, like if there's certain things that, well, they'll show what the date is. You know, they'll give like actual real life events that hold them to the dates. I haven't been following it that closely, but I did ask them because see, we're running out of music because, you know, we've used a lot of music that's pre-85 already. So I was like, how's it going through the season? How much farther are we going to get? You know, and questions like that, you know, and what's going to happen next season? This and that, you know.
Well, I have a suggestion.
Kind of slow, but you know, yeah. Okay.
If it's 1985, you can play every version of Roxanne that was made, because it was like 80 of them. Roxanne's grandma, Roxanne's son,
So many versions.
Roxanne's neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with hip hop, you know, 85, there still were not that many releases. You know, things like Houdini, Fat Boys were out. You know, it wasn't like just like Sugar Hill Gang days, but it's still very early in hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I like the way that y'all bounce, you know, and like you said, like the Lakesides and the
Oh yeah, Nina Simone's and
yeah,
all that music. Yeah, you know.
Another show that was great that you worked on was Insecure.
Oh yeah,
right.
Sure.
And that's is it over? Or is this the last? I think this is the last season.
I worked on the show earlier on, so I'm not currently on the show, but I know they have a finish date for it. So yeah, I don't know if they're still working on it or whatever. But it was amazing work with Issa. She's a great person, and I
was gonna say it seemed like her and the people that worked on the show were very in tune with hip hop and the culture. Can you talk about that?
Super duper. You know, Issa had her own aesthetic, you know what I mean? And it was like, she's from Crenshaw, you know, she's from like the View Park area of Crenshaw, right next to where I grew up, you know what I mean? And so, you know, she's like an eclectic, you know, type of individual, so she likes like, you know, a lot of kind of like eclectic music, but she's also, you know, she's from Crenshaw, from the neighborhood, so she kind of loves like ratchet stuff, you know what I mean? And so it was so fun working with her because she was really interested in finding new artists. She wasn't like hung up on like you know, just using artists with names. She wanted to find new stuff, and she vibed on my aesthetic, and you know, it was crazy. I remember when I auditioned for her, I was so pumped because I had watched all the Black, her webisodes. You know, I did the first pilot, and I went in there and I made a playlist, and it was a dope ass playlist. It had like it was like on a Wednesday, and like Hotline Bling had come out on like Tuesday, or and I put it on there or whatever, you know what I mean? Or it was just, you know, it's just the playlist was dope, and so that definitely sold me, you know what I mean? Like when I gave her the playlist, you know what I mean? But we had real similar kind of taste, that we like eclectic shit, but we like more commercial stuff, and you know, kind of some hood stuff.
So
know,
she oversaw
oh, that's
the
all
direction
her
of the music.
aesthetic. That's all her aesthetic.
Dope.
So, you know,
So
and
she
she had
had
people
full
like
control.
Lamont involved, you know, after I wasn't involved, and great people, you know what I mean? And, but yeah, you know, Issa's super creative and from the neighborhood, and yeah, has brought her own thing, and is moving barriers all the time. I hope to work with her coming soon. There's some discussion about us getting involved with her in a podcast or something. So I'll keep you up to date.
And then lastly, you know, I'm gonna skip over Fast and the Furious. You know, that's a big thing, but I'm more on the hip hop side of it. Shout out to Luda. Shout out to Luda. But working with, you know, in Hustle and Flow, Luda was also in that. But just with Terrence Howard actually rapping,
right,
and doing
that
the
was part of my
music.
job, was trying to get him ready for rapping. You know, like
So how did you do that?
Well, I try to get him to listen to a lot of Memphis rap, you know? Like I try to get him to listen to like 3 6, Juicy, you know, Project Pat, you know what I mean? I was just giving him like the grimy like Memphis stuff, you know what I mean? I was burning CDs off MP3s. It was like the Napster era, you know what I mean? So, and it's so crazy because he really did, he was hard, man. Like, you know, Terrence is an artist. Love him and knew him for a long time. He's so talented, you know what I mean? And is a talented music artist in his own right. And that was part of the problem. Like, I remember when I was trying to like focus him on it, he was into a flamenco guitar stage, and he was playing flamenco guitar for me like this whole time at the Standard Hotel when I was trying to like vibe with him on the like dialects of like Memphis and the slang words. Because, you know, like Memphis rap was so much different than like Atlanta rap, and I wanted him to get that right. But what happened at the end of the day is John made him go just hang out a bunch of time with 3 6, and they kind of, you know, and he took his flamenco guitar up in there, and they made him put it away after a little bit. Very shortly, they got sick of that shit. That's my funny Terrence Howard 3 6 story. But he spent time with them, and they got him right. You know what I mean? And he spent time with people like Al Capone, who wrote some of the other music that 3 6 didn't write. Craig Brewer, the director, had been living in Memphis for a long time and was very much a fan of that kind of music. And so, you know, he introduced them to people and took them around the right people that kind of helped him, you know, hopefully do a good enough job. I know some Memphis people complain about certain things about his dialect or slang or whatever, but for, you know, those that aren't super attuned to that, for most of us, I think he kind of pulled it off in a great way. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I'm very proud of my work on that movie, and yeah, to be able to work with those.
He surprised me because he seemed like the kind of guy initially that would maybe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but he seems like a guy that almost would turn his nose up to hip hop in the beginning. Like he don't really seem like a hip hop guy to me.
Terrence's music that I remember he gave to me way prior to this was kind of like some acoustic-y, kind of D'Angelo type of stuff, and it was very.
So I'm right.
Was that?
So I'm right.
Yeah, it was some, you know, it was a long time ago, but it was kind of like, you know, it was kind of like, you know, that soul vibe that was going on back then.
So he hated rap.
And like I said, when I was trying to play him that Memphis stuff, he kept playing his flamenco guitar. So I can't argue with you, but I also think that, you know, Terrence is a multifaceted guy and you just can't put him in a box. And I would be pretty
Right.
shocked if he's not a big fan of a lot of great hip hop. But you know, I know him personally, and we were friends. I haven't seen him for a long time or anything like that. But you know, we're more casual friends, everything like that. I didn't really know him to know his musical taste that deeply, so I can't really speak. But my personal experience certainly doesn't with him certainly doesn't kind of like different. I mean, that his demo, I mean, the music he played me in his R&B stuff, that was kind of like hip hop influence, but it was like neo soul. I'm sorry, that was the word I was looking for.
No, we appreciate Terrence's work, but you know, his
Yeah,
observation. He good, man. He good, man.
He was bougie as fuck, man. He was walking around.
That's all I want you to say.
369. Juicy J told me, man, put that shit in the hotel room here. After about a day, we had enough of that. If you get
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Project Pat didn't want to beat him up.
When you get Juicy J on here, please tell him, ask him about the flamenco guitar. Tell him I told you the story. I want to get my props for that, and have him tell it from his side. The craziest story about Juicy J and Memphis that I have been working on Hustle and Flow was I wasn't even supposed to go to Memphis, and they flew me out there because there were some issues they were confused about which versions to use, and you know what I mean? It's nice to have the music supervisor on set, you know? So they flew me out there, and I was all excited. And the first night I get there, I'd never been to Memphis. I go to John's room, it's like night, it's already like 10 or 11 or something, and Juicy J's in the room, he's like, we're going to the club. I was amped. We go to the club, Juicy J's dropping us off. He's like, that club's too hood for me. I ain't fucking with it. Wait, drops us off. We're in line. We don't even get inside the club. We're in line and somebody gets shot in the club. The security guard comes running out with a gun, starts shooting in the parking lot. So all the people in line, is like 4 of us, so we dashed in the club. I'm with John. John famously, vision was not that good, almost steps on the body of the guy that got shot, who did not die, by the way. But, and it was just a crazy scene. We ended up going out the back of the strip club, and we called Carlos Brody, because we couldn't reach Juicy J, this other incredible producer from Memphis, and he came and scooped us up. We just left, no police asked us no questions or nothing like that. The club was open the next day. You know, Memphis.
Just another night in North Memphis.
When Juicy J said the club was too hood for them, I tell that story, some people just go, wait, what? But you know, I mean, yeah, anyway.
But he was dropping you off. Hey, yeah. Man, that was great. So, you know, tell the people again, you know, any upcoming projects or what they should look out, whether it's Snowfall or the documentary, and where they can find you, all the different platforms where they can find you.
Sure. Okay, so my Instagram is Paul_DJP_Stewart. My label is View Park Records. That has the White Boy from Crenshaw trailer on it. It's a YouTube and Instagram page of View Park Records. And, you know, there's a really cool documentary on the View Park channel called Straight Out of Los Guandules, which is something I shot out here in the Dominican Republic, like deep in the hoods out here in the barrios in the Dominican Republic. Speaking of getting a little Dominican flavor, you hear that?
Started jam.
Right. And yeah, so that's the move, you know. Check View Park Records on Instagram, YouTube, Paul_DJP Stewart on Instagram, and check the documentary. A bunch of things I'm working on, but those are the main things I like to promote at the moment. View Park, we're going to be dropping a bunch of music and working on stuff, some merch and some really cool merch and stuff. And so, yeah, I'll promote everything on my page. Yeah.
The book company as well.
Over the Edge Books, man, you know, trying to do a collaboration with some famous rappers that we all know, no names.
Hey.
But, friends of the show, let's just say.
Yeah, we're going to talk.
Yeah, but yeah, please check us out, Over the Edge Books. We got some great hip hop, urban culture books, alternative books, and we're also looking for a product. You know, if you have a project you think is right for us, thanks for checking us out.
That's what it do.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
DJP.
Man. Thanks for having me
Appreciate
on.
you.
Yeah.
Oh man, thank you for coming on and sharing those amazing stories. I know it's funny we hang out, but I never really asked you, getting your business like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully I had a couple good ones. And man, I appreciate it. Appreciate it, man.
absolutely. And obviously I'm gonna hit you up so we can talk probably in the morning. I don't know. Is it later out there? What is it, like 3 hours later?
We're 4 hours later than LA. Oh, and last thing, let me add, that I did just recently start this music consulting service. I'm helping indie artists get their music placed in film and TV. So that's, something I got going on, and people can DM me on Instagram or, email me from Instagram and inquire about that. On my Instagram link tree, there's a link to all the services and stuff I'm doing too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Bro,
my man.
you're a legend.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right, man.
So I'm gonna holla back.
Okay, man. Have a good evening, everybody. Appreciate it.
Stewart, DJ P.
Money B, going way back. My man.
Peace.
Peace.
Man, I'm sure Paul, he got so many more stories. I was trying to pull it out, but you see how he played it political like a motherfucker. It was like, but that's called media training. He didn't say anything that he didn't want to say. He's like, you're not about to catch me on YouTube saying some craziness. But that being said, it definitely was a great show. I want to thank everybody that tuned in, and checked it out, whether you're checking it out live or you're watching it on the YouTube channel or wherever you're watching it. I appreciate you as always. Not letting you forget that if you just want to listen to the audio version of the Going Way Back show, you have to check out thebeastradio.com, thebeastradio.com. And you can also hear specialty mixes from the third member of our crew, DJ Always, at I am DJ Always on Instagram with a Z. And he also does specialty mixes of the guests on the show. So please check out the Going Way Back Show podcast on thebeastradio.com. Once again, you have to check out dmerch.com and 9tship-hop.com. Definitely on DU merch, look for the DU Legendary Collection. You see I'm wearing this shirt. This is like a prototype. This is the What's Up with the Love with the big heart, because we need love right now. This will probably be in the next collection in the next couple of months. I might even give this, this is the prototype. I might even sign and get this away later down the line. Who knows? Tati said I should have did it on Valentine's Day with the heart, but no, I like my shirt. I want to keep it for a little while, especially since this is the only one ever made, right? But this is coming down the line with the next collection. I'm not going to reveal the name of the next collection. I want you to focus on the Legendary Collection, which you can get right now. Also, visit dopeonly.com/Big Cartel and get your VP edition of the Oakland, USA hoodie and sweatshirt celebrating our new MVP, Madam Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, from Oakland, California. You also, if you're in Southern California, go get any type of adjustments or massages or whatever you need. In Rolling Heights, see my friend, Dr. Namesh Hawala, and he will take care of you. Tatizi, are we missing anything else? I want to thank you, of course, because you always do a great job.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's what it do. So we're going to step on out. Everybody take care of yourself. If you are in Texas or any of those surrounding areas where it's unbearably cold, wrap up. Hopefully you got your heat, your power, everything is working. If not, I'm pretty sure to come back soon, but definitely take care of yourself as well. And until next time, people, please be easy. Peace out.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back.
It's the Going Way Back show with Money B. Classic hip hop, raw and uncut.